Hello everyone, how you all doing? My name is Philip, I'm also known as PS or PS Enough. Welcome to my channel. Today we will be recording a video comparing two demos, one against each other, and trying to pick apart the design intricacies that make one demo good and the other one bad. This was a challenge set to me by my Patreon supporter of the Pick a Topic, Any Topic tier. The person who prefers to remain anonymous requested me to dissect a demo, do like a long form um, review of some sort of different demos, especially winner ones. The idea is that he's trying to figure out a formula on how to make the best demo ever. I also suggested maybe compare two demos together. So that's what I'm gonna do. It's a bit challenging. I don't feel a bit up to it because I'm not a designer. You know, I have some sense of design, but I'm not a graphic designer. I didn't have art foundation, like background on arts. So I feel like I'm just running with my opinion, and that's what it is. So consider this a very subjective view, and also I'll add some humor to make it a little more interesting and less boring for other people. So if you're the creator of these two demos, please take no offense to my words. It's just my opinion and trying to dissect things a little bit and trying to figure out what is good and what is bad on these demos. So the two demos that we are comparing today are number one, another one from CNCD and Fairlight. It won Assembly 2018 against a couple other big contenders. ASD had a very good demo. Orange also had a very good demo. Of course, there was this controversy about them using Notch, or actually, the controversy were more about Orange using Unity engine, and then people started saying, okay, so if there's controversy with Orange using Unity engine without crediting it, then the Fairlight guys should also be getting flack from using Notch, even though they were the guys who developed Notch to begin with. But it's a tool, a commercial tool of some sort, which is being used to make demos. Okay, that controversy apart, it's a bit of a silly discussion. I mean, you should credit the stuff that you use. That's pretty much the bottom line. And whatever else from that, it's just blah blah blah. He said, she said. Who cares about that discussion? Make demos, make good demos, use whatever tools you have around you. Just make sure you credit stuff properly. That's the end of that discussion. Back to the comparison of these two demos. This is the demo that I'm gonna talk about. Number one, another one from CNCD and Fairlight, and I'm gonna compare it with another demo that has recently exploded on the demo scene. If you haven't been following the demo scene for the last 48 hours, this demo came out of nowhere and has been getting a lot of attention. A lot of other people are making similar demos, and of course you know that I'm talking about Gray Screen with No Music by Loonies. There are a few other versions of Gray Screen with no music, but I decided to select this one because it was on YouTube, so it's easier for me to do the video and stuff. So for those who don't know where the hell Gray Screen with No Music by Loonies came from, there was this thread about links on Poet, and you know, Poet is a cesspool of discussion, blah blah blah, all that jazz, who cares? But Hot Multimedia, or hackers, was complaining of the rules being too strict, and that if we keep going with the strictness of rules, we will end up only being able to submit demos named Gray Screen with No Music, which run on full HD and only have a gray screen and no music. So of course a lot of people decided to start making these demos, and they are important. They are a cultural artifact of the demo scene. So let's compare this demo with number one, another one. So I'm going to start number one, another one. The music is quite good on number one, another one. I usually don't like Gloom, like personally, as a person, but he makes good music. And this one in particular starts pretty well. Well, the beginning of the demo is pretty Looks a bit like a movie introduction of some sort, some random blah blah blah, which is usual. If you notice this, nothing on this channel will end up being unplugged to, wait for it, Notch, which is the tool that they use, that they make. Yeah, so okay. So far so good, the demo looks pretty good. Nice simple effect, very dark, which, you know, might be just the build up for something. The music also starts very uh, slow intro-ish kind of sounds. You have the CNCD Fairlight logo on the top, so it's like sort of you're watching a TV kind of thing. If you compare with the gray screen with no music, you just have the standard C64 loading system, and you can play. You see it's about to run, and yeah, so you go straight immersive into the demo, which will run for 10 minutes. So very different styles of demo making. One goes direct for the message that they want to deliver. The other one tries to do a little intro to present stuff. Of course, you can also compare the colors. This one is a lot darker. And depending on what you want to do, if you really want an intro or not on your demo, you should usually make it a little bit darker tones, or it depends a lot on the style that you're trying to use. But on this case, gray screen, they went directly into the meat of it, which I think is important to give more impact to the whole demo. Okay, so moving on, the next scene, you see what would usually be the logo, the name of the demo. It reminds me a lot of old school demo scene graphics, 2D graphics, but this one is in 3D. And it moves and has ribbons and pseudo twisters, and I have no clue why the hell they have that broken camera lens thing on top. If this is supposed to be a television, why do you have a broken mirror, and why is it moving? I guess they just wanted to put more post processing on it because they can. But the thing itself, the logo looks pretty good. You know, you see some stuff moving around. Twister effect kind of thing. It's pretty good, like 3D graffiti, which, you know, has been overdone. Lots of people have done 3D graffiti before in the past. So in that regard, it doesn't have a very novelty factor, but it still impresses the people at assembly. So they were a bit of sellouts doing these kind of things. And it's CNCD and Fairlight. They like their graffiti suburban theme kind of thing. They have reused it in a few demos before. If you compare it with a gray screen with no music, of course there is no logo, so they're a lot more direct to the point of the message. No need for introductions, no need for a logo. I don't think they even have credits. I haven't checked the full demo to confirm that, but I don't think they even have credits, so they just focus on the production itself. And that can also work, depends on what you want to do with your demo. But let's go back to CNCD and Orange for a little bit. This part was really good. You see the music entered and you have a great sync right off the bat. You hear the sounds of glass tinkering on the music. You see stuff breaking. Great looking effect. Very well done. Bam! Another sync, another awesome effect. Slightly different, just a variation of the other one, but it works very well. It sets the tempo for the whole thing. Very colorful, which is, you know, I was gonna say that it's usual on CNCD and Fairlight, but you have seen them do black and white demos as well, or just sepia tones demos before as well. So, but it's nice to see them back into doing colorful stuff. Of course, color can be a bit overwhelming if you compare it with a gray screen with no music. This is a lot more user-friendly. You know what you're getting. You don't get overwhelmed by all these colors, which can be good, can be bad, depending on what kind of effect you want to provoke on your viewer. But generally speaking, I tend to prefer the more neutral tones. But if you want to sync stuff hard with the music, using colors is a good way to do it. So I really love the beginning of this demo. Two very nice The logo was good. The two good syncs effects straight off the bat. Let's see how it progresses. Another one, pretty good so far. Different colors, breaking stuff. This one is the one I don't really see the point. It went dark for no reason, and it didn't sync to anything, so it lost the tempo. I like all the 2D stuff they have all around, like the number of pixels, like measuring something, small messages, stuff like that, to keep you distracted or to have more stuff on screen. That helps, when you want to make sure that the user doesn't get bored. If you overload it with information, even if it's just for graphic design aesthetic kind of thing, it helps keep the user looking at small details around the stuff, so it doesn't focus on how long has passed between scenes. Of course, in the beginning of this demo it's pretty much useless since all the effects were in very quick succession, but I guess they wanted to complement the scenes and make them look more complex than they are, which is good recipe if you want to win a demo party. People think that a lot more work went to it, which in this case it's true. They had to spend a lot more time putting all these layers of text flickering and syncing and stuff. So yeah, it shows that they spend a lot of time on the demo. That's a good trick for if you want to win a demo compo. If you compare it, of course, with a gray screen with no music, you see they don't go for that. They don't need to do that. They focus only on the pure message of the demo, and it can take you to another place of demo watching. It can become more introspective. You don't get your attention unfocused by a lot of different things going on. You focus on what's really important, the message, the concept behind the demo, which in this case is a gray screen with no music, which you can watch for 10 minutes. So let's go back to number one, another one for a second here. So this is the scene that I didn't particularly like, but I guess they're using for some transition maybe? I don't know. Let's see how the demo progresses. So yeah, this part doesn't make much sense. I assume they're trying to introduce the theme of the demo, which is animals, as you will see later on. It's not synced properly to the sound though, which is a pity. Like they don't move at the same pace. The scene didn't cut in at the sound. The cutting in at the sound, I guess it's okay, because when they were cutting, they were breaking stuff apart, and this one isn't breaking stuff apart, so it makes sense that it's a bit off tempo. So it's like the demo is moving on to another scene, and you don't really need to be syncing. You should, however, keep the tempo going, and it's one of the things that I didn't really appreciate so much in this demo is how they are not consistent with the tempo flow. On some places they are, like on the breaking scenes, they were consistent with that, but afterwards they will fail at keeping up with the tempo a few more times. So let's see examples of that. So the scene looks pretty good. I mean, the particles look pretty good. This is okay scene, just a filler. This one is really good. Nice introduction. It complements the original title screen. Of course, they didn't really need it, but it's a nice impact that have another screen saying the name of the demo. I think they will put sub-labels there. And they also have the animal there, which goes along with the whole theme that they're going for the demo. It's a bit like high-tech, but also having animals on it. And I'm not sure what the animals actually mean. I guess they just needed something moving, so they decided to find animations of random stuff like animals. Keeping up with the animal theme, still colorful, very colorful. Whenever they change the scene, they change the whole palette of colors, but it fits well because it has a certain consistency throughout. Like, they don't repeat colors, but all the colors seem somewhat fresh. There are some scenes that are darker to counterpose a little bit, I guess. I'm not sure. I think they abuse a little too much of the dark in some places. Like on the first breaking thing that was black. That one didn't quite work, in my opinion at least. But this one is alright. I think they have a bit too many filler screens. Like the previous effect was completely a filler. They could probably have avoided those fillers and just had better syncs. I think it would have worked better, but that's my opinion. And I'm not a designer, as I mentioned in the beginning, so maybe they're onto something that I just failed to understand. Let's keep watching. This scene also doesn't make any sense. It doesn't enter on cue. It's just progressing to something completely different, and it's a ball going next to a bird, which has no connection with the previous scene and no connection with anything that will come afterwards either. So I guess they just wanted to have the bird flying and use the scene as a filler for stuff. Another filler scene. They're back to the colorful, different scenes kind of thing. I guess that's alright. No sync. It's just same effect after a beat goes by and doesn't really happen anything. That was a good sync there. The black thing was on sync. That was good. This scene is differently colored. This one was a good transition, in my opinion. Yeah, the 3D writing thing, that worked pretty well. Now they have this scene which also feels a bit of a filler, but they're doing something different with the bird, which is alright. I didn't quite get if this cut was synced or not, so I'm not gonna comment on that. It felt that it wasn't synced, but it could have been me not really understanding it properly. Yeah, this one was totally not synced, and it showed two quick scenes or two quick cuts of the same thing, which doesn't make any sense because there were no syncs on either of them. So it's just confusing for the viewer, which might be what they were going for. Maybe. I don't know. Or they just wanted to show the same object from two different parts. And the golden colors also doesn't make much sense with the rest of the stuff because everything else is, let's just color all the way. Those that cut where you see the lion's face, that one looked pretty good. I don't know why they had 3 cuts there when they just wanted to show one scene. They could have just done it on 2 cuts or just went directly to the faces, which was the good part. I don't know. Now they seem to be introducing the group names, CNCD and Fairlight, with just logos. And this clean room kind of aspect, which doesn't make much sense comparing to the other scenes. The other scenes were just colorful. This one feels like, well, it's good because you see the lighting effects and post-processing and that kind of stuff. So the scene itself feels good, but it doesn't seem to match the rest of the demo that has been presented so far. Maybe it was on purpose. They wanted to do something different for the credits. I don't know. Not credits, or just the name of the group. If you compare it with gray screen with no music, of course, you see there's a whole consistency throughout, which really helps it keep the user engaged and not losing focus of the real concept behind the demo. So let's see how this progresses. Transition with no sync whatsoever, just a new scene, ball that's not particularly interesting. Now you saw a sync, and the sync was well done and it introduced a new element to the scene, so that wasn't completely gone to waste. What seemed to be a flaw ended up turning into a way to set the scene before you show it in action. That works well, and it worked well here, at least in my opinion. And then they changed to another scene completely different. Little man moving around. A lot of cuts. I don't know why they do so many cuts. You don't have time to see anything properly. All the graphics look good though. That's one of the highlights that you get from the demo overall. Even if you don't really capture what they're trying to show on each scene, you get the overall aspect that it's colorful, that's a lot of work put into it, there's a lot of motion, a lot of high rendering techniques, and that helps get the votes. This scene looks pretty good. Like, good syncs, the floor booms well, the animation of the animal looks pretty good, the whole composition is pretty good, the color scheme. So this one really works very well. I don't know why they didn't focus on these kind of scenes and had so many fillers throughout. Another quick cut to something else instead of exploring the good looking scene. Don't know, maybe it's on purpose, don't want to spend too much time on a single effect. This effect looks pretty good as well. It's just a shame that it was cut abruptly from a good looking effect without giving you time to enjoy the other one properly. There was a little sync there on the highlight when the music was fading in, which kind of works, but you don't really notice it when you're playing the demo. Usually you just notice it now because we're like stopping almost frame by frame to analyze it. And then they cut into this scene, which is a shopping cart with a ball inside. Maybe it's a disco ball, maybe it's the Amiga ball. References to another demo, maybe they're referencing Farbrausch, because Farbrausch apparently means something with colors in German. And the demo has been quite colorful so far. And the logo of Farbrausch is a little cart with a ball in the middle, so maybe that's it. The scene itself looks good, even though it's a bit, dark, gloomy, but that's on purpose because you're like in a slow part of the demo or a bridge somewhat. And this is important because if you remember the other video I did a few months ago, when I was talking about the impact that demos have, when you have multiple parts, people remember the demo as being a lot longer and having a lot more content on it. So it's good that you have these fast-paced or high-content parts and then have some way that feels like the demo is about to end, and then you kick it again and go into the next part and have that multiple times throughout the same demo while keeping some sort of consistency between things. So this thing looks very good and it works very well to do this kind of thing. You have the radio down there, you have very good lighting, very realistic rendering.
Real different, right? Check it. Hit the mic. Yo, hey. Welcome to the...
And now you enter a part where you have a new element, which is the voice. Also the BPM speeds up a lot. And they have a lot of more stuff moving. They have the balls, they have the animals running. The only part that I don't like about it is that the movement, it's not on the same beat or speed of... it's not on the same BPM as the music and the rapping is. So it feels like the visuals are dragging. And this is something that I have noticed on other demos from CNCD and Fairlight before, and it's one of the reasons I usually don't really like their demos so much, despite the visuals looking awesome. They seem to usually fail those kind of cuts, and the tempo, they just don't seem to follow the tempo or don't care about following the tempo, which... For me, when you have a high-paced demo, I would like them to see following it the tempo because it just makes more sense. You don't have to follow it all the time, but if you have stuff moving, I would like it to see it moving with the same pace as the tempo. If you don't have that synchronicity, it feels like something is wrong, and that's usually one of my gripes with is gripes a word? I think gripes is a word, but well, if it's not, I apologize. It's one of the things that I don't really like about their demos so much that puts me off a little bit. It's usually that lack of sync. The cuts on the scenes usually don't match the beats or the parts where you feel like the music is going from one pattern to another. and the tempo usually is also not followed. And you will see what I mean here, that the visual seems to be dragging on and not matching the BPM. You see a very fast breakbeat going, and the tiger's just going, and the ball is just rolling. It's not going as fast as it should be. I mean, it's good that they have some movement, at least. They increase the movement compared to the other scenes, but it's still not fast enough to bring the full impact, in my opinion, at least. That was a nice middle transition there, fitting with the vocals. That was nicely done. Now you have another motion scene. This one is almost reaching the tempo, but still dragging behind. But looks pretty good. This scene doesn't really make much sense. I don't see the point in this. Well, they have the Notch logo there in the middle, and then they have some men doing some acrobatics. The acrobatics are not going on tempo, they're not going on sync. So it just... I don't even know the word to say it. It just takes apart the momentum of the demo, in my opinion. I mean, if they would do the flip synced to the flow, that would really work very well. But they're not doing it like that. So it's just... we're just putting movement for the sake of having movement because the song is going faster. So I think if they had more attention to those details, it would have worked better. But the scene still looks nice, okay? It's colorful, follows the rest of the theme. It just feels more like a filler than an actual content. Another filler effect. This one is fast-paced to the tempo. So if you had more of these filler effects, it would actually work better, in my opinion, because it would have kept the flow going longer. And then they break apart to something that is completely slow, which makes no sense whatsoever. Why do they do this cut? It doesn't make any sense. They cut a fast-pacing thing that's finally synced, giving fast momentum, and put a slow-moving thing, which is... and they barely had time on the other one to push the tempo back up. So things like this, details like this, really tell me that the demo doesn't pay attention to the tempo. They just put stuff moving and they don't care if it's synced to the tempo or not. They do a few syncs, moving it back and forth, but they already ruined the tempo flow of the whole thing. So for me, the fact is just... it's already lost itself. Another effect, the guy going too slow, not fitting the tempo of the music. The scene looks okay. Some nice twirling effects. We already seen it before. It's just a different composition, different models. But it works okay. And it fits the vibe of the music. The vibe of the music feels like you're moving around, but the tempo is not right. Again. Check it. Similar thing here. Nice scene, good looking, fits the idea behind the music, but the tempo is wrong. Cut that doesn't really make much sense. I guess we just want to keep the coherence of a lot of effects going. So different variations of the same effect, model moving and a lot of ribbons pulling or extruding from the guy. This is a nice cut, good transition. So it feels like you're in a third part of the demo now, which is good. Cloth effect coming out of nowhere, just to show they have tech. This can be a double-edged sword. On one hand, if you put more different good-looking effects, people will know that you have better technical skills, so they will vote you better for that. At the same time, you are losing coherency with the rest of the demo. It's okay if you want to move along to something else, like each part of the demo focuses on a different little thing, so you have like an evolution. That's one way to make a nice coherent demo that keeps evolving. Variform did that well, for example. We have introduction effect, and then the second part of the demo is slightly different, but there are the same core colors, features, style in it, but the style slightly changes and you have different slightly looking or different slightly different looking effects going. In this case of this demo, the coherency is the animals theme, of course, and the colors, the different colors that keep jungling back and forth. So they're introducing a new element. I think it's okay. I think it's a bit forced, but it's okay because you win so many points with showing that you have great looking cloth that it compensates that you haven't been using any cloth whatsoever on the past 3 minutes of the rest of the demo. I mean, demoscene has a legacy of showing new techniques on the same demo, and that being a wow effect, an impactful effect. So it also has that point to bear in mind. If you add new elements, they don't necessarily need to go together. It's good if they do, but if they show that you have, I think you guys understand what I'm trying to say. So it's a double-edged sword. That's it. I don't know how to explain it any better without just repeating myself. So let's move on. You are target market. A little joke that this is not commercial, that we are the product. This scene I have mixed feelings. On some part of it, it fit the tempo, and then they do this pause and rotate camera things, which doesn't fit the tempo, and that kind of ruined it for me. But the scene itself looked pretty good with rotations and stuff. Yeah, I didn't like the pause part. Like the pause and just the camera movement, I think it broke a lot of the flow thing. But again, I mean, at least they're keeping consistent with the other part, the rest of the demo. They also had a lot of those mindless cuts, or I guess they want to set the tempo by cuts instead of by speed of the scene, which I think is wrong personally. But I mean, it's designer's choice, and if it works for you guys, then I guess if it's the way they prefer to do it, then it's being done properly. It's just not my taste, particularly. These effects just went all over the place. There was no need to have that, so it just ended up being a filler to, I don't know, maybe link back to the previous scenes of the demo, perhaps. This running man doesn't really make much sense. I didn't really like it pretty much, but I guess it's yet another filler to fit the tempo or to bring out a new scene. The only good part about this running man is that it actually fits the tempo of the music for a change. Yeah, so it's running fast, same pace as the music, finally.
Check it.
Then you have the slow motion guy, which is a bit fatter, and the music also changes to reflect that. So this scene really works well. That counterpointing between the two figures, which is well represented in the music, and the music, the visuals fit well that part of the music. Also the pulsating part of the man sing to the music, that also works very well. So this scene was well thought out. It's just a shame there are so many fillers in between that don't really seem as thought out as this. So I would even venture to say there are like maybe 5 scenes that were well thought out on the demo. The logos, for starters, the animal walking around, the exploding spheres, of course, in the beginning, those were well thought out. The moose, or whatever it was, walking on the plane, that one was well thought out. This one was well thought out. And the jumping man revolving around the words were also pretty good, except they ruined it a little bit. The rest felt a bit like fillers, especially those extrudes. They never seemed to be really fitting the tempo mood of the thing. They just look nice, so they're used as small cuts between stuff. This scene doesn't really make much sense to me. Neither did that middle one. Why the hell was that black part there? And now it's just another extrude thing, so yet another filler. At least they changed the colors a lot, so that keeps a coherence throughout the whole demo. So it's just trying different things with the same concept of an animation person and extruding, rotating, that kind of stuff. It's good how they compose with the colors a lot, so it makes it different, makes it still interesting to watch the different scenes that you can do with that. So in that aspect, it's good. And they had like, I don't know, 12 scenes using that same technique, which all looked sort of different and cool and well composed, so that works well. That middle scene also made no sense. This one is more of the same, although the colors are slightly have this gradient sort of vibe, which the other ones didn't. Middle fingers, because we can, you know, attitude in the demo scene always gives you extra points, supposedly. Don't know what's up with this scene. I guess it sort of looks cool, but doesn't really fit the rest of the demo. Wash, wash, wash. It seems like a recycling of one of the earlier effects that felt like a twister. But this one looks good because it evolved, but it seems like we are losing the tempo of the music yet again. This one was pretty good. It entered well, it had some syncs on it. You can't read it, but well, who cares about reading anyways? And that's it. They end with a cloth scene. Not sure why. They only had cloths on 2 parts of the demo. Does it make sense? Maybe it's like letting go of the cloth at the end of the thing, like on the theater you pull the curtain down, so maybe this is a reference to laying down the curtain. I don't know, it didn't really fit the rest of the demo, but you know, it's the way they chose to end it. So yeah, what else can I say about this demo? I liked it overall. Comparing it with the other assembly demos, I actually like this demo better than the orange one. And this opinion is a little bit controversial for me, since I usually like orange a lot better than I like CNCD Fairlight stuff. But this one felt very coherent, which the orange one didn't for me. So I like that aspect of this particular demo from CNCD and Fairlight. As I mentioned before, sometimes they have these syncs that feel out of sync to me, and which is why I usually don't like their demos. They also had it on this demo. I pointed them out, every single one of them, as you saw. But the ones that were on sync looked pretty good, and there were a lot of scenes that were well composed, like the running man with the fat guy coming afterwards. The moose thing also was pretty good. A lot of the ribbon things, or the model with the extrude rotation things, they also looked pretty well composed. A lot of overlay work. The music was very good. It was well treated for the demo. It fits well. It was one of the things that I sometimes don't like about CNCD Fairlight stuff, is that the music doesn't seem to really fit very well. Only on some of them, not all. But on this one, it felt really well. It fitted well together. I love how they weren't afraid to use all the colors. They managed to make that work, which can be hard. And all the scenes were really well composed. There were some that were a bit simpler, just, you know, a ball with some not that many effects going. But overall, with so many different scenes that you had on the demo overall, you see them for like half a second or maybe 1 second. It doesn't really matter that much. So let's see. What I liked most about this demo was that whole cohesiveness around it, which the orange demo didn't really have. I think they tried a bit too hard to connect to stuff from the past that they used to do before, which was a bit lost. And the demo from Orange itself wasn't very cohesive throughout itself. So that's why I like this one better than the Orange one. And comparing it to the AST demo, for example, well, the AST demo had a lot of effort put into it as well and a lot of unique style, but this one felt like it was a lot more work to put together, a lot more modeling work and scene composing work, and in terms of technical effects as well, the clots, the particles, the post processing, all of it seems very polished on this demo, even if it's using the engine. Smash, the person who did the engine, had to do all those effects on notch to get them working. So it shows that they have the skills and they put it all together, and that's what I really liked about this demo. So yeah, I think that's it. Final comparison with Gray Screen with no music. I like the ending of this one a lot more. I think it connects a lot better with the beginning than the another one, the number one another one demo does, because the number one another one ends with that cloth thing. This one doesn't. It doesn't go there. It remains faithful, and it transmits a very important message. When you were watching Gray Screen with no music, you really start thinking what the concept is behind this, and the proof that it's an important message is that so many people copied this demo since then. There are like over 10 versions of this demo, but the original concept still lives strong. And I think it's a lot about the music being so quiet and non-existent. It really makes you think. It's like it goes back to John Cage and the importance of silence in music. Silence is the most important element in music. Without silence, you can't enjoy music. You need the silence to clean your senses, to clear your mind, to let you really think about what you're experiencing. And they really went over the top with the music on this one. I mean, it's just completely silence. It's almost overwhelming how much silence there is. I can almost hear myself breathe when I watch this demo. And the gray, of course, it's the most middle tone you can get. Some people like the black and white demos, and for people who like black and white demos, gray is the right middle ground. It fits both worlds, and you can also have gray with gray, not black and white. And it really fills that middle ground that you sort of miss on other demos. And I like the absence of color as well. It's very has its feet on the ground. It doesn't try to overachieve. It knows to play well to its strengths. It's just a gray screen, and it works. So yeah. Good job, Loonies, even if it's for Commodore 64, so no full HD version. So I will still have to down thumb it for that. But good effort, and keep doing these demos, and maybe one day you will be able to win assembly demo party like CNCD and Fairlight did with number one another one. So yeah, hope this video was useful to you guys. Don't take my criticism too harshly. If you're Smash Desktop Mazor and Gloom was just dissecting it, it's just my opinion. Hope you guys keep doing whatever you feel like doing. Don't listen to me, listen to your hearts. As they say, the best demos come from your hearts, not listening to the opinions of others. And everyone else, I hope this dissection video was useful, or at least a little bit entertaining. and if it helped you think a little bit more how to do syncs or how to think about using tempo properly, using colors properly, or music properly on your demos. Hope that was beneficial. And yeah, that's it for this video. Filling out August 2018 Pick a Topic, Any Topic Fair. See you next video, everyone. Don't forget to like, subscribe, tell your mother that I exist, all that jazz, or support me on Patreon as well if you want to have me keep making these videos. So bye bye, everyone. Take care. See you next time.